What is poppin' YouTube? Back again with another video. Today we are doing a new series where I am doing a fantasy mock draft, but I'm taking someone that I listened to for years, the first fantasy football content creator I ever tuned into on YouTube, the fantasy football counselor. We're going to use his strategy today in this mock draft. So let us dive into this mock draft. I couldn't do a mock draft without putting on his typical look. So let's go. We're rocking that backwork cap. My head's a little bit too big, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All in line with the fantasy football counselor strategy. So we're going to be doing this mock draft on Fantasy Pros. Now I know Fantasy Pros, their ADP, not necessarily the greatest, but we're going to be doing this. This is one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, one tight end, two flex, one defense kicker, and then bench. We're going to be doing PPR and 12 teams, and we will be randomizing our draft position. And we randomized it, and we got the 11th pick, and let us start off this draft. So if you look off the board early on, we got CMC at the 101. I'm still taking Justin Jefferson, but we are doing this in the light of the fantasy football counselor. And if you watch the counselor, it has been robust RB for years. This has saved me when I was an idiot, when I first started playing fantasy football and I was playing against older adults as a younger teenager. And even now, sometimes when you play in a lot of leagues, just being able to get those two workhorse running back, it just makes your team feel so good. So CMC at the 101, the counselor would love that. Justin Jefferson at the 102, I know he never takes a wide receiver in the first round. This year though, like the fact that Jamar Chase in this draft went at the 109, that 100% would never happen. Like I said, Fantasy Pros can be a little bit off, but the fact that we are on the board and all these running backs, it's like Fantasy Pros knew I was doing a mock draft with the fantasy football counselor strategy. So we had Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson, and Bijan, Travis Kelce, Jamar Chase, and Tyreek Hill, and we are on the board. And of course, we're going to be looking at running back. For us right here with our first player off the board, I mean, we're going to smash Josh Jacobs here. It feels early. It feels really early. Would I love to take Cooper Kupp? I feel like Cooper Kupp is the move, but in light of the fantasy football counselor, we will see how this ends up. So I am smashing Josh Jacobs here at the 111. Breece Hall then goes off the board with Cooper Kupp. I do like Team 12's team, and we were back on the board. Derrick Henry is someone that I have super highly rated in my redraft rankings. So we're going to double tap running back here with Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry. Now, if you've been tuning into the fantasy football counselor, he usually says 2 or 3 running backs in the first 2 to 3 rounds. And then in round 4 is where you get that stud wide receiver. But as always, we've been talking about in these drafts, when you can get in the 3rd round, what is one of the major advantages that you can have in fantasy football is to have an elite level game breaking quarterback. So right now we have the pick of the litter between Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. I have all those guys in this tier. We are going to get one of these guys to fall back to us. So that is why we're going to address another position. But if I was right here with playing with my friends, I would probably take one of these guys. But let us look at wide receivers and running backs. There are some running backs we still do like, but we do need that solidified wide receiver 1 on our team. Now, I put out a video 2 days ago talking about my love for Garrett Wilson. And of course, Garrett Wilson is not on the board because Garrett Wilson has wide receiver 1 overall upside. And so does Chris Olave. I know a lot of people in the comments were saying Chris Olave does as well, Caleb. So I will take Chris Olave here at the 311. Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf go off the board. And then at the 402, I think this is unrealistic, but we're just going to do this for the heck of it. I have my choice of the litter between all 3 of these stud quarterbacks. And if I have to decide, I would love to take Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes has proven he's the quote unquote safest option. But when we're here and we already have 2 stud running backs with our stud wide receiver, we are shooting for upside. So you can go between Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. Now, a lot of people are going to be all in on Jalen Hurts, QB1, after the last season that he had last season. For me right now, it's still Josh Allen, just because of the year in and year out consistency of being, we've seen when he is a top performer, what that top performer looks like. So I will take Josh Allen here in the 4th round. And just like that, Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts go back to back to back after that. So we're going to be back on our board. We're looking at some running backs. Swift would be an option that would be interesting. James Conner. We're looking at wide receivers. Drake London, he's here with a high upside shot. Tight end, we still have Kyle Pitts. I'm going to double tap with Drake London here and hope that another running back falls to us in the 6th round. And in the 6th round, it does happen. It is fate. We will double tap on DeAndre Swift. So for us right now, if we look at our team currently, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, Josh Allen as our QB, Drake London, and DeAndre Swift. So we've absolutely hammered RB like the fantasy football counselor would want us to do. We got our wide receiver 1 in Chris Olave, and we got a high upside quarterback in Josh Allen. Absolutely loving this draft. Like I said, playing against bots, so I don't know how realistic this actually would be, but we're back on the board. Tight end, no one that we really like. So we're looking at running backs and we are looking at wide receivers. As always, the fact that I could have waited until the 7th round to get a Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence, I still feel is a little bit ridiculous because I feel like in your friend leagues that Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence will be going earlier. We probably need to look at it's 2 wide receivers. There's some wide receivers that I like. So we're just going to take the shot. Like I said, it's a risky team as is. We'll draft Alvin Kamara. Is he going to get suspended? I don't know. But I was hoping JSN was going to follow me with my next pick. But JSN doesn't follow me, so we probably need to take another wide receiver. No, I think there's some guys that I still like that are going to be there in the 9th. So we're going to just continue to smash running back like the fantasy football counselor would want us to do. And we're going to go James Cook. The fantasy football counselor does not like James Cook. If you've listened to any of his stuff, not really a huge James Cook guy. For me, I understand the difference between when you're talking about Damian Harris and James Cook. I still think that James Cook is going to get a ton of valuable touches, even if he gets 12 to 13 touches a game. Maybe they are not all runs right up the middle. That James Cook can still put up 10 to 12 fantasy points per game, and getting that in the 8th round is something that I really like to do. Now, you do like to take those upside swings. I just couldn't do it to myself. I just couldn't do it. We are looking at Michael Thomas, not really big Michael Thomas guy. I do really like Elijah Moore. We're going to go with Elijah Moore. We're going to go with Elijah Moore, and our guy falls back to us with our next pick. We need someone that can also put up the wide receiver 1 in the Carolina Panthers offense, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen has been super underrated, both in Dynasty and redraft right now. Bryce Young, as much as we want to say he's not going to be a great fantasy football quarterback, I think he's going to be an okay actual NFL quarterback. And if Adam Thielen is the wide receiver 1 in that offense, they're going to be behind in a ton of games. So they're going to have to throw the ball. I'm looking at Adam Thielen, and I think there's a ton of good potential for Adam Thielen here. Other picks that I like here in the 10th round, I do like the upside shot of Devon Achane. Hey Darnold over here is running the same exact team that we would be doing with the heavy running back. DJ went really kind of like a hero RB build and then absolutely smashed RB here late. And we are back on the board. We do need a tight end, and there's some guys we like. So we're going to wait another time, and we're going to double tap on Sky Moore. We're just kind of fill out our wide receivers here. David Njoku goes off the board, which I was not concerned at all about because we will be drafting Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has been a super underrated tight end, and I think he's going to thrive with the CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. We were hoping Greg Dulcich was going to fall behind for a tight end too. I've been all over Greg Dulcich this offseason. For me, it was just hard for me to pull the trigger. Because I needed some consistent tight end points that I know that Dalton Schultz was going to provide. I think Greg Dulcich has the higher upside, and maybe that was a shot I should have taken. But here's where we'll just double tap. We'll double tap on Gerald Everett. I do like me some Gerald Everett this year as well for the Los Angeles Chargers. And so now we got 3 picks left. We do need a kicker and defense, but I always wait for the last 2 picks, and that's what the fantasy football counselor would say as well. And so we're looking, are there any late round shots of running backs? We could take a second quarterback, but typically like to just have one quarterback, especially when we drafted Josh Allen so early. And we're looking down here to see if there's anybody that we would like to take. I mean, a late round shot, a handcuff, anything like that, or a decent wide receiver with upside here. I think the play, especially in a redraft league, is to be able to get someone that potentially has handcuff potential, high score in fantasy football. If something were to happen, can they give me a week where they're going to put up 10 to 12 fantasy points per game? And I think the answer here is going to be Jerome Ford, just based on the fact that he is currently the RB2 still behind Nick Chubb. Now, if something happens where they bring in Kareem Hunt, they bring in Lenny Fournette, they bring in Zeke, there's so many of these free agent running backs that are still sitting out there on the boards that get me a little bit nervous. But Jerome Ford is getting good reports out of camp. And so we're back on the board. We need a defense. We need kickers. We're looking at Pittsburgh Steelers defense versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said, I like to play the waivers with my defenses. So I'll just take the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got the Watt boys over there. And then I'll take my boy Evan McPherson for the Bengals as my kicker. So if we view our team right now, we can see right here. We got Josh Allen, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, Drake London, Dalton Schultz, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara. The Steelers defense, Evan McPherson on our bench, James Cook, Elijah Moore, Adam Thielen, Sky Moore, Gerald Everett, and Jerome Ford. What do I think our team looks really great with? I think our team looks really great with the starters. I mean, having elite level quarterback option, a really solid wide receiver 1 option in Chris Olave with 2 workhorse running backs is just absolutely fantastic. The thing that makes me a little bit nervous is the fact of our upside on our flexes with DeAndre Swift and Alvin Kamara. Now, we definitely hammered running back super hard because that's what the fantasy football counselor would want us to do. I just don't love the look of this. I don't love the upside of my flex spots, and I feel like that's going to get me beat in a few weeks. And especially, like we said, if some injury happens, like to one of my running backs, of course, then I have the depth to replace. But looking at some of my bench players, like there's a lot of upside on the bench between James Cook, Elijah Moore, and Sky Moore. But what's going to happen if I have an injury and all of a sudden to a wide receiver and Adam Thielen is now being thrust into the starting lineup. He's supposed to supplant or be there if Drake London gets hurt. Those are the worries that I have with this team. But I do say I still like the robust RB build because it makes you less worried of praying that a running back in the 4th or 5th round falls to you when you have the ability to take the 2 guys at the top, and then you're really going to be able to focus on those wide receiver and tight end positions. If this is your first time on the channel, let me know down below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So happy you're here, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.